Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to Psychology Eats. So, what's eating you? Well, today I am talking about Wendy Williams, and I'm excited to talk about her because I have been a fan of Wendy for 30 years. I have followed her career since she was on radio in New York and in Philly. And so I can tell you everything about Wendy, I thought, until I saw this movie. And so some things have come to surface over the last year when her marriage imploded and all the blogs and everyone started picking up all of that stuff. But prior to all of that, there was some issues kind of like in the street about her marriage and what type of person Kevin was. So we kind of knew, but not really. So I say Wendy and I feel like we have like this bond because Wendy was raised in South Jersey. I was raised in South Jersey. We weren't raised in the same town, but it was the Jersey Shore. Okay. Wendy, after she went to college in Boston, she moved to northern New Jersey. I was in college in northern New Jersey. And then later, as she worked in radio in New York, she ended up, they say in the documentary, she ended up having her baby. And then they lived in Livingston, New Jersey. And I lived in Montclair, which is 10-15 minutes from Livingston. So it was not odd to see Wendy out and about at the grocery store, at the bank, wherever, because that was where she lived, and especially like on the weekends. So I would always be like chasing her, like trying to figure out where she could possibly be, so I could give her my name so that she could say my name on the radio, which was her thing. If you saw Wendy out and about, you give her your name, she'll shout you out on the radio. And so everybody wanted that to happen. And so if you got Wendy to shout you out, you was famous for a couple of days. And so I tried that for, it seemed like forever. Never could catch her until one Saturday I was able to catch her. If you're from North Jersey and you lived there in the 90s, you know about the Union Market. And so she would always say on the radio that she shopped at the Union Market. And so I was at the Union Market, and here she comes. And she really is tall, and I'm short. And so here she comes. She's walking across the market, like all glammed up, just Wendy over the top. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Wendy. And so I make a mad dash over to her. I'm trying to find a piece of paper and a pen. I want to give her my name so I can get my shout out. And so I go up to her and I'm all excited. I'm like, Wendy, Wendy, Wendy. And give her my phone, not my phone number, but I give her my name. And I'm like, you gonna shout me out? And she was like, yeah, girl. And so that Monday I was waiting like, oh my God, Wendy's gonna shout me out. That girl did not shout me out. But I did not care because I had made that connection with Wendy. So that's one area that is the personal side, how I feel like I know Wendy. But I want to talk about her diagnosis because that's what I'm here for. So, Wendy, and based on everything that she has shared with us through this documentary, is that the first thing I want to say that I believe Wendy is definitely has PTSD because she did live in a very abusive relationship for more than 20 years with Kevin. And I don't think the movie really showed the real him. He is way more abusive, rude, aggressive, scary, way more than what they portrayed in that movie. And I think part of it is because Wendy is so new to being free of him that she is not really ready to tell the full story of that level of abuse, and the 20 years of disrespect that she went through. I work with women who have been in abusive relationships, and it takes them a long time to tell those stories because it's so painful, it's so hurtful, and when you tell that story of, the disrespect, and it's just reliving it. And so, because Wendy was had a lot of, I guess she had some control over the movie. I'm not sure if she's even ready to really expose everything that happened to her living with that type of abuse. She kept repeating that he never hit me, he never hit me. I'm not sure if I believe that. And for a lot of women, it depends on what they consider a hit. If you nudge me hard, you just hit me. If you get your finger in my face and it's right here in my head, you just hit me, right? So, if you grab me up in my neck, you just hit me. And so for Wendy, I think her definition of hit is not what she believes she was hit. So I'll just, okay, fine, you weren't hit, but you were mentally abused, which is just as bad as someone beating the crap out of you. So then I would say Wendy has some anxiety, which stems from, being around someone that is unpredictable. Like an abuser, women talk about how you didn't know how his mood was going to be when he came home as the abuser. And so then there will be some anxiousness about that. So I'm going to say she has some anxiety. Body dysmorphia. And I think she still suffers from that. And she talks about in the movie that even in first grade she was already being placed on a diet. And so she already had some sense of obsession about the way she looks and the way she appears, which makes sense that she got a lot of work done to her face and her body because she does suffer with that. And she even talked a little bit about having bulimia. Well, not a little bit. She said she had bulimia because she would throw up and to get rid of her food so that she wouldn't get calories. And she only stopped because she heard that she could lose her teeth, which is one a consequence of being bulimic, is that a lot of bulimics lose their teeth because of the acid that they bring back from their stomachs. And then cocaine abuse. She does report that she's in remission. So although she's in remission, she still has addiction and alcohol use. Here's another way that I'm connected to her in my head. She talks about that she drank a lot, especially when she knew Kevin was just literally living down the street in this house that he purchased for his mistress. And so when she knew he was gone and wherever he was, she would drink a lot. So she began to abuse alcohol. I know that's probably true because she actually on Friday, every Friday, she would go to a liquor depot where my niece worked at that time, and she would get a box of Newport and a couple bottles of liquor. And so I'm sure that was for her, that alcohol. Because I would always say to my niece, Wendy come today? And she was like, mm-hmm. And she would buy, her cigarettes and her alcohol. So definitely was dealing with alcohol abuse. And I'm not sure if she's still kind of dealing with that to this day. Because she's been through hell. And people are going to say, when they talk about her, why did she stay? Why did she stay? Why did she stay for 20 years? If I knew the answer to that, I would be a zillionaire. Because there's no one way to answer that. for a lot of women, they stay for many reasons. She talked about how she stayed in that relationship because of her son and wanting her son to have both parents. I think she missed the point of understanding how staying in a marriage like that has probably hurt her son. That he knew from, he probably knew how his dad was making his mom unhappy. And, the arguing or whatever was going on in that house, no matter how she tried to pretend, kids know. They just know. And Kevin is so reckless with his mouth, I'm sure he wasn't trying to hide his mess. So, why did she stay? She stayed because I think Kevin, for her, came in her life at a time when she needed support. Wendy was really reckless on the radio with her mouth, and it was a lot of people out to get her. She showed that one scene with Total, but it was more than just that the group Total that showed up at the radio station to kick her ass. So he protected her. And so once she had that, it was like she was stuck to him. And he used that to position himself in a way that she felt like she needed him. And so I think that was part of the reason why she stayed. But I'm glad she did talk about that she's in therapy. She goes to therapy every week. That's great, because I think she has a lot more to talk about and a lot more to share. And I think through that sharing with her therapist, she's going to be able to heal herself from everything that she's been through and learn how to use healthy coping skills. It's funny because my other niece worked at Michael's, and she would go to the Michael's on Saturday, because if you know her, you know she loves to do crafting. And so she would go to Michael's and get, a whole bunch of stuff, crafting stuff. And then she would even come back to, like, on the radio or on TV and talk about, I went to Michael's and got my crafting stuff or whatever, which was true because I have another niece who worked at Michael's at that time. So that's it. That's all I got for Wendy. Kevin, I'm just, Kevin is what he is. He's an abuser. He has aggression. Probably has some childhood trauma himself, which led him to be the man that he is today. And I'm glad Wendy was able to free herself of him. I know it took her 20 years. It's okay. She's a survivor. And I say that to any woman. Don't stay stuck because you've been in the situation 10 years, 15 years. Doesn't matter. When you're ready and when it's safe for you, leave. Leave that situation. And that's it. And that day of your freedom starts your whole life all over again. So that's it for that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And drop in the comment, who would you like me to diagnose next? Thank you.